I often receive messages from YouTube viewers asking me what kind of needles I use when I play records on my orthophonic phonograph that I post on YouTube. And I usually respond and explain what I use, but I thought it would be easier if I just did a posting, and that way I could just refer people. As you can see here, the needles that I use are made by the Laubscher company in Switzerland. They were the highest rated needles by Record View magazines and magazines before the war. And I bought a bunch of them about 20 years ago when the company still had a lot of old stock. The company's still around, but I think they've run out of all of them except the very loudest, the Forte needles. You can see they're available in several different loudness levels. The most common one is the pianissimo, and then they move up pickup super, mezzo forte, piano, and forte. And I don't know how well you can see this, but if you look at the needle, there's actually a shaft that extends off the end of it, and in each case that shaft gets longer as you move up in loudness. The longer the shaft, the louder the needle. The pianissimo needles are the best ones to use on fairly late phonographs. They were sold in this country also under the Decca label, the Recorton label, and I don't have an example, but the Fidelitone label. The louder needles aren't really any good to play on the newer phonographs because they're just much too loud and they blast. They would be okay for playing acoustic records on a really early machine, but I never use them. I only use the first couple of loudness levels on my machine. A lot of people, especially with orthophonic phonographs, use needles made by Victor called tungstone needles, which basically is a tungsten tip stuck in the end of that shaft, and they're good for many, many plays. And although they sound pretty good, they're very noisy, and it must have something to do with the way the tip is made on this needle, but these tend to filter out an awful lot of the surface noise compared to other needles. There are a lot of needles that are available in the market that are made today, and I've tried most of them, but if you look at them under a microscope, you'll see that the surfaces are very rough with a lot of sharp edges, and they come to an extreme point. If you look at a Laubscher needle under a microscope, you see that the tip of it is elliptically shaped and rounded on the end so that it fits the record groove a lot more gently, and there isn't a point sticking into the bottom of the groove and wearing out the record more quickly. The most common one, the pianissimo and the alternate brands, often show up on eBay, but it's important to make sure that, because all of these companies made other needles, that the ones that have the tip that extends out of the end of the shaft, because for some, as I said, for some reason those sound a lot better. So I hope this information will be helpful, and I encourage people to try to track down some of these needles. I think the proof is in the pudding, and I think most of my postings actually sound pretty good using these needles.